this issue is to our Indigenous people, I would suggest to you, Mr. Speaker, that we pass it. Let's get it to committee where we can hear other stakeholders voice their concerns and opinions. Thank you.
There will be 5 minutes for questions and comments when the House next takes up this topic. Déclaration des députés, statements by members. L'honorable député de Rivière-du-Nord.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Not only have the Liberals refused to grant Quebec its single tax return, but they're making fun of us as they go. They're saying that we're not able to manage this on our own. Further, the Minister of Infrastructure, who was a Quebecer, is trying to prevent Quebec from collecting tax because he wants everything to be centralized in Ottawa. The Minister of Revenue, who's also a Quebecer, is even talking about forcing Quebec to give up its federal tax return. The Prime Minister, another Quebecer, went so far as to call this a kind of a childish thing on the part of the provinces. Childish things, Mr. Speaker? I think the Liberals have shown their hand with their arrogant response to Quebec's demands. They're calculating that if they do this to Quebec, it'll pay off in the rest of Canada. And that's what counts.
Mr. Speaker, on Sunday, February 3rd, the legal community lost one of its most respected and celebrated lawyers, Eric Russell Hogan. Eric's greatest love was undoubtedly his 4 children, Greta, Miles, Thea, and Celia. His love for them was only rivaled by the adoration he had for his wife, Lisa. Beyond family, he loved the law and the legal community. And I can assure you, the legal community certainly loved him back. His dedication, piercing wit, and keen intelligence earned Eric much acclaim as a litigation star. Yet Eric was always striving to have an even greater impact and devoted much energy to mentoring others. He served on the board of directors of both the Advocate Society and the International Academy of Trial Lawyers. Eric's infectious spirit left a profound mark on all those who had the privilege of knowing him. His integrity exemplified not only the highest traditions of the bar, but of humanity itself. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Simcoe Grey.
Speaker, yesterday I was proud to announce my private member's bill, the new Children's Fitness Tax Credit. In 2006, I chaired the panel that recommended the Children's Fitness Tax Credit, and when I joined the Conservative government in 2011, 1.4 million families received the credit. In 2014, the credit became refundable for low-income families, and 1.8 million families were claiming it. The initiative encourages active kids while making it more affordable for parents. Studies indicate that at the time of the credit and its implementation, participation rates increased among sports and other activities. Shockingly, the credit was eliminated by the present government in 2017. Today, I ask all members to support this bill and help make Canada the best place in the world for a child to grow up. I encourage members to support active and healthy kids. For more information, go to healthykids.healthycanada.ca. Enfants en santé, Canada en santé.
Healthy Kids, Canada.ca.
Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington.
Mr. Speaker, it was with a heavy heart that I heard of the passing of Margaret Walsh in December in her 96th year. She was a selfless person with an overwhelming desire to serve, and she played such a big part in so many lives in my community. After teaching for many years, including at a one-room schoolhouse in Lonsdale where I live, she became the first female reeve of Tynanega Township and the first female warden of Hastings County, serving 20 years in council. Margaret Walsh was also a close friend of mine, and she was my personal mentor from my time on council in Tynanega Township and in our multi-decade fight against the Richmond landfill alongside other community activists. During those days of activism, Chief Miracle of the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte remembers fondly that he referred to her as the rebel reeve of Ontario, and she would just laugh, and she had such an impish laugh. She was a remarkable, passionate fighter, and she will be missed. Thank you.
The honourable member for Courtenay Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud that the Nuu-Chah-Nulth territory of my riding is home to Canada's oldest First Nations newspaper, HoC, which celebrated its 45th anniversary on January 24th. The driving force behind this outstanding publication was the great Nuu-Chah-Nulth leader, the late George Watts, and was brought to life by the late Bob Soderland, Dave Weechar, Deborah Steele, and so many others over the past 4.5 decades. HoC has maintained the highest standards of journalism throughout its distinguished history, while staying true to its mandate as a unifying force among the 14 Nuu-Chah-Nulth nations. I urge all those who want to understand the day-to-day issues faced by the Nuu-Chah-Nulth people while celebrating their many individual and collective achievements to make a habit of visiting hellschiltza.ca. You won't regret it.
Honourable member for Bonavista Buren Trinity.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today with great pride to honor the life and legacy of Ray Walsh. Mr. Walsh was a longtime musician, known for his significant contribution to music in Newfoundland and Labrador. Sadly, Ray passed away on January 27th, at the age of 75. Hailing from Bay de Verde, Ray moved to Marystown to teach and joined the Marystown Band in 1961, before becoming a star on CBC's Saturday Night Jamboree and All Around the Circle, from 1964 on to 1975. Famous for his work on the piano accordion and a school teacher by trade, he was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Newfoundland and Labrador Folk Festival in 2013 for his contribution to the cultural fabric of our province through his talent and passion for music. On behalf of all the residents of Bonavista Buren Trinity and the entire province, I offer my sincere condolences to his family and friends. Thank you for the music, Ray, and rest in peace.
The honourable member for Red Deer Mountain View.
Mr. Speaker, as a farmer that cherishes the magnificent variety of top-quality food produced by Canadian farmers and ranchers, I'm pleased today to recognize the contribution of Canadian lentils, peas, beans, and chickpeas, otherwise known as pulses. Pulses benefit Canadian farms and farmers in a number of ways. The crop makes its own fertilizer by producing nitrogen. It has very efficient water use, and pulses generally have a slightly different growing season from most crops, allowing farmers to diversify their production and their workload. For all Canadians, we also know that pulses are one of many great sources of protein, fiber, and other key nutrients like iron, folate, and potassium. As we celebrate the International Day of Pulses on February 10th, we need to remind the government of the important role that all Canadian farmers, including pulse farmers, play in providing Canadians with a healthy, inexpensive, and plentiful supply of top-quality foods. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Louis-Hébert. Mr. Speaker, some individuals of stature have the privilege of serving both the world and their country, and today I'd like to pay tribute to one of these individuals, Mr. Auguste Choquette. Mr. Auguste Choquette was born into the political life. He had a brilliant career as a lawyer. He represented the citizens of Lotbinière from 63 to 68 with Lester B. Pearson, and he helped to vote for the maple leaf flag. Auguste Choquette left politics in 68, but politics never left him. Involved in his community, and even at 86, still very engaged. He was always helpful and enlightened people with his vast knowledge. He had a noble heart and a lively spirit. Mr. Choquette passed away December 21st at the Michel Sarrazin residence. He didn't want funerals, but asked for donations to this institution. And I would now like to offer my condolences to his family and ask people to donate to La Maison Michel Sarrazin.
The honourable member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
Mr. Speaker, last weekend, BC's Team Tardy brought home a third national gold title at the 2018 Canadian Junior Curling Championship, making it their third title in a row and the first team to ever do so. Team Tardy consists of skip Tyler Tardy, third Sterling Middleton, second Matthew Hall, and lead Alex Horvath. The coach is Tyler's father, Paul. The young Lower Mainland curlers are a Langley-based team. On Sunday, the gold medal round was held at the Art Hauser Centre in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, where Tardy and his team triumphed over JT Ryan's Manitoba team by the score of 7-5. The team will be representing Canada at the 2019 World Junior Curling Championships in Liverpool, Nova Scotia from February 16th to 23rd. Once again, I invite my colleagues to join me in congratulating Team Tardy in another remarkable and record-setting win and wishing them the best of luck at the World Juniors. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Saskatoon-Grasswood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The residents of Dethnefie, Missinippi, and Churchill River cannot afford the Liberal carbon tax. A farmer just 25 kilometers northeast of Meadow Lake is asking how much the carbon tax is going to increase his operating costs. Northern forest workers also have concerns about what the carbon tax is going to mean for their jobs. Families trying to make their household budget last to the end of the month are concerned about the impact of the carbon tax will have on their monthly grocery and electricity bills. The Liberals' carbon tax, let's be honest, Mr. Speaker, it's not a serious plan to cut emissions. It's simply a tax grab that will cost Northerners hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year. When will this Prime Minister realize the damage he's done to Northern Saskatchewan?
The honourable member for New Brunswick Southwest.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Arnold Hawkins, who celebrated his 108th birthday on January 30th. Born in 1911, Arnold has lived his entire life near the water in Beaver Harbor, New Brunswick, and lives in the home that he built in the 1930s. Not only is Arnold a great role model and father, he was also a hard-working fisherman for more than 40 years. Arnold fished mostly for haddock because he believed the water by Beaver Harbor had the best tasting haddock. Arnold has seen a lot of changes over the years and can recall the first time the roads in Beaver Harbor were paved. Mr. Speaker, I would like to share my best wishes to my oldest constituent in New Brunswick Southwest, my best wishes to his family, his 5 children, 14 grandchildren, and 25 grandchildren. Happy 108th birthday, Arnold.
Wow. The honourable member for Halifax.
Mr. Speaker, this year, Province House, home to Nova Scotia's legislature, turns 200 years old. Wow. And I quote, "It stands and will stand, I hope, to the latest posterity, a proud record of the public spirit at this period of our history. And as I do consider this magnificent work equally honourable and useful to the province, I recommend it to your continued protection," unquote. Those are the words of Lord Dalhousie, Governor of Nova Scotia, at the opening of Province House 200 years ago. More than the symmetry of its Palladian architecture, its locally quarried sandstone, or the fine quality of its ornamental plasterwork, Province House has been an esteemed home to history for 2 centuries. It's where Joseph Howe fought for freedom of the press. It's where Nova Scotia peacefully established the first responsible government in the British Empire. It's where we joined Confederation in 1867. And it's where future generations of Nova Scotians, again, in the words of Lord Dalhousie, will continue in this magnificent work. Bravo. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Lakeland.
Mr. Speaker, life is expensive enough. This Prime Minister's policies are making it worse, and Canadians are paying for his mistakes. This Prime Minister broke his own ethics law by accepting a lavish vacation and left taxpayers with the bill. Even with his NAFTA rollover, the Prime Minister couldn't get U.S. tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum removed, a hit to Canadian businesses and consumers. And the Prime Minister won't stop illegal border crossers. That bill keeps on climbing. So too do Canadians' taxes, just to pay for Liberal mistakes. And his never-ending deficits will mean tax hikes after the election if he gets another chance. Because of him, the wealthiest pay less while the middle class pays more, and he thinks low-income Canadians pay none. He's wrong. But this Prime Minister has never had to worry about money. That's why he doesn't worry about Canadians' money. Our leader understands the struggles families face because he's faced them himself, and he has a plan to control spending, balance the budget, and lower taxes so Canadians can get ahead, not just get by. This year, Canadians can stop paying for Liberal mistakes and choose Conservative leadership to get ahead.
The honourable member for Scarborough Centre.
Mr. Speaker, from Peace by Chocolate in Antigonish to Aleppo Savon in Calgary, Syrian refugees are making a difference by opening businesses and creating jobs for their fellow Canadians. I would like to recognize a Syrian newcomer business in my riding of Scarborough Center, Aleppo Kebab. Zakaria Al-Moghdad was a restaurant owner in Syria before coming to Canada and fled the civil war with his family. He spent a year improving his English before working at Paramount Fine Foods, a restaurant chain founded by another successful immigrant entrepreneur, Mohammed Faki. 2 weeks ago, Zakaria opened Aleppo Kebab, offering delicious Syrian food to the people of Scarborough, and he is paying it forward, offering jobs to the other newcomers to Canada. The customer favorite is the Aleppo Kebab with its unique blend of Syrian spices. It's my favorite too. Mr. Speaker, these Syrian newcomer success stories are a proof of what we all know, immigration matters. Thank you.
L'honorable député de Laurier-Sainte-Marie.
The Honourable Member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie. Mr. Speaker, it is with immense sadness that I rise to address the death of our friend and colleague, Paul Dewar. He was a man of courage who wanted to build a world that was better for all. On issues like nuclear disarmament, human rights, justice, he had a voice that was strong and dedicated to humanity.
Leader and as a parliamentarian. Even in his last year, while battling cancer, he still poured his spirit into his legacy initiative to empower young Canadians, Youth Action Now. Julia, Nathaniel, and Jordan, we love you. Our entire New Democrat family grieves with you. But let us heed Paul's final message to us. May we be bound together by joyous celebration of life. We are best when we love and when we are loved. Shine on like diamonds in the magic of this place. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
Paul Dewar was a public servant, a parliamentarian, a community advocate, a teacher, a father, and a husband. I have fond memories of attending events with him in our shared city of Ottawa, him giving me the occasional ride home when my car wouldn't start. I also remember his kindness to people, those he did know and those who were just strangers. We lost Paul yesterday, a tragic loss to his family and to the entire city. On behalf of Conservatives, I offer his family our condolences. On behalf of my community, I offer him our thanks. And I share with you his words from just yesterday. In the stoic stillness of my journey, I have found my way to peace. May he rest in peace.
The Honourable Member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Mr. Speaker, I too rise today in great sadness after the passing of our good friend Paul Dewar, who was taken from us far too soon. Paul was a true parliamentarian. He was principled. He stood up for human rights and for those who had no voice. Even after his tragic diagnosis, he launched Youth Action Now to encourage engagement amongst young people. From his mother, Marion, Paul inherited an absolute love of our city and its people. His graciousness, sincerity, and compassion made it easy to reach across party lines to work together for a better city and a better world. Today, Ottawa has lost one of its great citizens. Our hearts go out in sympathy to his family and to the many, many people whose lives he touched. In his final words, we draw inspiration. He said, "Let's embrace each other in these days of cynicism and doubt. Smile and play, laugh and dance, give and share. We will miss you, Paul."
I join all honourable members in mourning the loss of Paul Dewar. He was a good man, and he leaves behind him a legacy of devoted service to his country and his community. Paul laisse dans le deuil.
Paul leaves to mourn him, his family, and many Canadians who saw in him a generous and courageous soul.
With Paul, as many of us did, numerous times, and I can tell you that by MP hockey standards, he was a very good player. He was a gentleman on and off the ice, and I understand he was also a wonderful hockey dad. The New Democratic Party has placed books of condolence in both lobbies, and members are invited to inscribe their messages for Paul's family. Suite aux discussions entre les représentants de tous les partis.
Following discussions among the parties in the House, there is consent to observe a moment of silence in honor of our colleague, Mr. Paul Dewar.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Avant de passer à la période des questions,
before going to question period, I'd like to make a statement about what I've observed over recent days. As members know, question period is an opportunity to ask the government to account for its administrative policies and the conduct of its ministers.
Perhaps too patiently, to questions put forward this week, some of which clearly fell outside of the scope of permissible questions since they had little to do with the administrative responsibility of the government. In addition, some of these questions were couched in language that amounted to a personal attack. This is also not permitted. I would caution members now, before we begin, that to maintain the dignity of this House, I will not allow such questions or such personal attacks. I will interrupt any member who asks a question that raises a matter that does not properly deal with public policy. The honourable member for Banff Airdrie will come to order.
There are other ways of asking questions about the government's administrative accountability. I'm convinced that members know how to formulate legitimate questions. If they're not able to do so, then I will give the floor to another member.
To have a question period where issues are dealt with seriousness, rigor, and yes, intensity. It also needs to be respectful. I hope this will be the case today and going forward. Alors.
Order.
The member for St. Albert Edmonton will also come to order. Je vous remercie d'avance pour votre collaboration.
I thank you in advance for your cooperation.
Order. All politicians, I know, enjoy applause when they speak, but there are times when we can do without it. Thank you very much. Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Globe and Mail published very troubling allegations of interference by the PMO and officials in a criminal investigation. Can the Prime Minister confirm that neither he nor any member of his staff had discussions with the former Attorney General regarding criminal prosecutions against SNC-Lavalin. The Honourable Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, I have never been pressed or had any pressure from the Prime Minister when it comes to any decisions on this file or any other. As Attorney General of Canada, I am the prime legal advisor for the government. I provide legal advice to the government with a view to acting in the public interest. I take these responsibilities very seriously. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The question, we've heard the Prime Minister's very carefully scripted, legalistic answer. But the question is, did anyone in the Prime Minister's office at any time communicate with anyone in the former Attorney General's office on the matter of the criminal prosecution of FNC-Lavalin, yes or no?
Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister has said earlier today, these allegations are false.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
That wasn't the question, Mr. Speaker. The question was whether or not anyone in the Prime Minister's office at any time had communications with anyone in the former Attorney General's office on the subject matter of the criminal prosecution of FNC-Lavalin. This is a yes or no answer. Which is it?
Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I'll repeat once again, as the Prime Minister has said earlier today, these allegations in the Globe and Mail are false.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Again, he can't answer a simple yes or no question. So I'll ask him a slightly different question. According to the lobbyist registrar, SNC-Lavalin lobbied this government dozens of times. In those meetings with senior officials, did the subject of their criminal prosecution ever come up? Yes or no?
Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I wasn't privy to those conversations. As the Prime Minister has said earlier today, these allegations are false.
Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, since the Prime Minister can't answer these questions, I'll answer part of that for him. At least 14 times, according to the lobbyist registrar, meetings with SNC-Lavalin touched on the subjects of, quote, justice and, quote, law enforcement. In those meetings where justice and law enforcement were brought up, were the subject matters dealing with the criminal prosecution of FNC-Lavalin ever touched upon, yes or no?
The Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister outlined today, he has not given directives to either my predecessor or myself on this matter.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski-Neugette-Témiscouata-les-Basques. Mr. Speaker, this is troubling because when we look at the situation, we see that in 2006, SNC-Lavalin illegally gave some $110,000 to the Liberal Party and its associations. Today, SNC-Lavalin needs some help because they're in trouble. The machine started up and more than 50 meetings between SNC-Lavalin and the government took place over the past 2 years. Why? Because SNC-Lavalin wants the accusations of fraud and corruption be abandoned by the Liberals. The Minister of Justice was fired and everyone wondered why. Was she fired because at the end of the day, a friend's a friend? The Honourable Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister stated earlier today, these allegations are false. Neither me nor my predecessor were subjected to pressure or received any directives from the Prime Minister or his office. The Honourable Member for Rimouski. Well, we know that oftentimes the simplest answer is the best. There are close links between the Liberals and SNC-Lavalin. Illegal donations were made. SNC-Lavalin needs help. The PMO is happy to help. They pressed the Minister of Justice to try to sweep the accusations of fraud and corruption against them under the carpet. She refuses, and she's fired. And we understand why she said it's a pillar of our democracy that our system of justice be free from even the perception of political interference and uphold the highest levels of public confidence. Who in the PMO is behind? The Honourable Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said today, he gave no directives to my predecessor. He did not press her. And as Attorney General of Canada, I was neither given directives nor pressed by the Prime Minister's office or the Prime Minister.
For Skeena-Bulkley Valley.
Canadians were confused and shocked when the first Indigenous Justice Minister was summarily fired without explanation. In her letter to Canadians, she warned, as Attorney General must, quote, speak truth to power, and, quote, that it is a pillar of our democracy that our system of justice be free from even the perception of political interference. In the Bob Shell report from the Globe and Mail, we now understand truly what she meant. Because when the now former Justice Minister refused to drop the fraud and corruption trial against SNC-Lavalin, she was fired. Again, did anyone in the Prime Minister's office communicate with the former Justice Minister about this case? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said earlier today, neither the Prime Minister nor his office put my predecessor or myself under pressure, nor gave any directives. These allegations contained in the Globe and Mail, Mr. Speaker, are false.
The Honourable Member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley.
Do you see what they're doing? A carefully crafted denial that isn't a denial at all, because it was the same company found guilty of corruption and fraud was also caught illegally donating more than $100,000 to these same Liberals. And SNC-Lavalin was rewarded, Mr. Speaker. When they faced corruption and fraud charges, the Liberals leaned on their own Justice Minister not to go to trial but to get a plea deal. Do Liberals seriously expect Canadians that all of these illegal and troubling events implicating the Prime Minister's office itself and their former Justice Minister are all somehow just a coincidence?
Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, at no point have I been directed or pressured by the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister's office to make any decision in this or any other matter. As the Attorney General for Canada, I have the responsibility, I'm the Chief Legal Officer of the Crown, I have the responsibility to give legal advice to the government in the public interest. I take these responsibilities very seriously.
Order. I'm having difficulty hearing the answers. I'd appreciate members' cooperation. Order. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, he might not have been, quote, directed to, but he was certainly promoted based on his willingness to go along with the PMO on this. Alors, je vais essayer encore.
So I'll try again. SNC-Lavalin met at least 14 times with the Prime Minister's office on justice and law enforcement. There were meetings with the Principal Secretary. Did the subject of criminal prosecutions against SNC-Lavalin were raised with those meetings with the PMO? Yes or no? Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said earlier today, he gave no directives to my predecessor. I can tell you that I was neither pressured nor received any directives from the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister's office regarding any decision on this file. As Attorney General of Canada, I take my responsibilities very seriously.
Mr. Speaker, the new Attorney General is trying to hide behind the Prime Minister's carefully scripted legal response this morning. But the question is quite simple. It's direct about dealings on the criminal prosecution of SNC-Lavalin. I'll ask the Attorney General again. Was he ever contacted by anyone in the Prime Minister's office about this case before he was promoted to the position of Attorney General?
Mr. Speaker, as I have said, I have received neither pressure nor direction from either the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister's office with respect to the decision that could be made in this particular file. Mr. Speaker, as a Quebec Member of Parliament who reads the newspapers, I did know about this case, but it does not transfer into my role as Attorney General.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the question wasn't about the Prime Minister's carefully vetted answer this morning. The question was about himself. Yes, he may have been aware of this case, but the question is very specific. Was he ever contacted by anyone in the PMO about the criminal prosecution of SNC-Lavalin before he was named to his new post of Attorney General? Did those conversations happen, yes or no?
Hear, hear. The Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, the answer is no.
Of the Opposition.
Perhaps the former Attorney General can shed some light on this issue. It's quite clear that we are seeing the beginnings of a cover-up here. The former Attorney General prided herself on speaking truth to power. She spoke truth to power behind closed doors, and the Prime Minister fired her. Will she now speak truth to power in front of all Canadians and confirm whether or not she received any communication from the Prime Minister's office regarding the criminal prosecution of SNC-Lavalin, yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said earlier today, neither my predecessor nor myself has received directives with respect to the dealing of this particular case. As Attorney General for Canada, Mr. Speaker, I take my responsibilities to give advice in the public interest to the government very seriously. I will continue to do so.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that question was for the former Attorney General. It's clear that this Prime Minister has fired her, and now he is silencing her. That's right. Why won't he allow her to answer the question as to whether or not she received any communications between the Prime Minister's office and her own regarding the criminal prosecution of SNC-Lavalin? Did those conversations happen, yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister dealt with this matter very clearly earlier today, and he stated that neither he nor anyone in his office pressured my predecessor or myself to come to any particular decision in this matter. Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister stated earlier today, the allegations contained in the Globe and Mail article are false.
Member for Chilliwack Hope.
It is a pillar of our democracy that our system of justice be free from even the perception of political interference and uphold the highest levels of public confidence. As such, it has always been my view that the Attorney General of Canada must be non-partisan, more transparent in the principles that are the basis of decisions, and in this respect, always willing to speak truth to power. Those are the words and principles of the former Attorney General. Why did the Prime Minister fire her for refusing to break them?
Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said earlier today, neither he nor anyone in his office directed my predecessor or myself to come to any particular result in this case. As Attorney General for Canada, Mr. Speaker, I am the Chief Law Officer of the Crown, and I provide legal service to the government with a responsibility to act in the public interest. Mr. Speaker, I take this responsibility very seriously.
Member for Timmins James Bay.
I met a young mother in Cat Lake this week who wept as she told me that her 12-year-old is so disfigured from rashes and impetigo that she's quit school, she hides under a blanket, and she won't let her own mother see her face. And last week, the minister offered to send up some light switch covers. That doesn't cut it in a country as rich as Canada. So I'm asking this minister if he'll stand up in this House and commit today to a full, independent medical team to go into Cat Lake to assess every single child living in those mold-infested shacks. Yes or no?
The Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations.
Mr. Speaker, we all share the members' concerns. Today, we are in direct contact with the leadership of Cat Lake on all of the challenges they are facing. We have heard very clearly from the community the serious concerns around health, safety, and the quality of housing. Another meeting is taking place with the community leadership and partners as we speak to advance the immediate action and long-term planning. We will continue to work directly with the community to address these issues.
Member for Timmins, James Bay.
Well, I think that another minister had to stand up for the minister who's missing in action, because I'll tell you what the chief just wrote today.
Order. I know the honourable member realizes that we can't call attention to the presence or absence of a member, and so I'd ask him to carry on without that kind of reference.
In the House, I said this minister has not done his job, because I have a letter here from the chief who said, your department has had ample time and information. They've received nothing but unrelenting barriers, outright refusals from the representatives, and roadblocks. So I'd like to ask this minister to stop hiding beneath the desk. Stand up, show some leadership, go to Cat Lake. Hell, I'll take him there myself.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, as we have said, we are working directly with the community of Cat Lake. The minister is in contact with the chief, and another meeting is taking place today with senior officials. We are accelerating work on needed repairs. We are accelerating the construction currently underway on new homes, and we are establishing a task force with the community leadership and Wendigo Tribal Council. We are going to continue to work diligently with Cat Lake to solve these issues.
The member for St. Albert, Edmonton.
Mr. Speaker, today the Globe and Mail reported that the former Minister of Justice was pressured by officials in the PMO to politically intervene in the criminal prosecution of SNC Lavalin. Was the Minister of Justice fired by the Prime Minister because she refused to do his dirty work? Did she pay the price for his mistakes?
Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister has said earlier today, no direction was given to my predecessor. No direction has been given to myself in regards to this decision. As the Attorney General for Canada, Mr. Speaker, I'm the Chief Legal Officer of the Crown. I take my responsibility to give advice in the public interest to the government very seriously.
Honourable member for St. Albert, Edmonton.
Speaker, the Globe and Mail article raises serious allegations against the PMO about trying to politically intervene in the criminal prosecution of SNC Lavalin, thereby interfering with the independence of the Public Prosecution Service of Canada. We all know what happened next. The Prime Minister fired the Attorney General because, as she said, she spoke truth to power. Did the Prime Minister fire the Attorney General because she refused to do his dirty work? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister has said, no such direction was given to my predecessor. No such direction has been given to me. Once again, as Attorney General for Canada, I'm the Chief Legal Officer of the Crown. I provide legal advice to the government based on the public interest. I take these responsibilities very seriously.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, I think the Minister of Justice is singing the same old song. We've heard his answer, but did the Prime Minister press or bring pressure on the previous Attorney General to abandon the prosecution? It doesn't smell good. Is the Prime Minister making her pay for his mistakes? Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said earlier today, there were no direction was given to the previous Attorney General, and nor was she pressured, nor was I.
Thornhill.
Speaker, Canadians know that from the day these Liberals took office, from the Prime Minister down, the proclaimed ethical standards, the go beyond the letter of the law ministerial mandate letters were simply window dressing, empty words. Right. Every violation exposed by the Ethics Commissioner sloughed off with the PM is working with the Commissioner. Mr. Speaker, today's revelations of alleged corruption in the highest office in Canada, attempted interference in criminal justice, and punishment of a minister who resisted demand answers and accountability now.
Hear, hear. Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said earlier today, the allegations contained in the article are false.
De Saint-Bagat.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Bagat. Mr. Speaker, this evening, a Liberal motion to enhance EI sickness benefits will be tabled in this House. It looks like the Liberals finally saw the light and realized that it takes more than 15 weeks to heal. I'm very proud to have stood up with my NDP colleagues to call again and again for the 15 weeks to be extended. My question is simple. Will the Liberals stand up for workers, support their Liberal colleague, and enhance the 15-week EI benefit? The Honourable Minister of Social Development. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank all members of this House for listening to the difficulties that some families have to face all too often. And I'd like to thank all the members in this House for understanding that since 2016, we have put in place significant measures to make EI benefits simpler, more generous, and more flexible compared to what was in place before. We've also introduced 2 new benefits for caregivers and also the shared parental benefit. But we know that there's still a lot of work to do, and we're looking forward to it.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the response I got from the Prime Minister on my call for urgent action for First Nations was met with platitudes. The federal government is ignoring communities like Garden Hill that don't even have running water. But the crisis continues. Today in Matthias Colombe, over 500 students can't go to school because it's shut down because of mold contamination. Mold-contaminated housing, schools, and no running water. When is the federal government, the Prime Minister, going to stop the empty words about reconciliation and relationships and urgently work with First Nations to deal with the serious crisis they are facing right now?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Indigenous Services.
Mr. Speaker, all children deserve a safe and healthy environment to learn in. The work is currently underway to remediate mold at the school, and it is anticipated that it will be complete by the end of the week. We will be following this work as it progresses, and I look forward to working with the Honourable Member as we go forward.
The Honourable Member for Ottawa-Vanier. Mr. Speaker, Franco-Ontarians are proud of their language and their culture. 50 years after the implementation of the Official Languages Act, it's unbelievable that we still have to fight for our language rights to be respected today. Last November, Francophones in Ontario were hit very hard when the Doug Ford Conservative government cut the independent French Services Commissioner's office and ended funding for a French language university in Ontario. Can the Minister of Official Languages tell us what the government is doing to help Franco-Ontarians continue fighting for their linguistic rights? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Minister of Official Languages. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague from Ottawa-Vanier for her excellent work and her excellent question and for everything that she does for Franco-Ontarians. On this side of the House, we believe in la francophonie in Canada, and we also believe in bilingualism. We know that we always need to protect Francophones in the country and ensure that our linguistic minorities are protected. We also know that Franco-Ontarians have the right to their university, and we will do everything possible to make sure that that dream becomes a reality.
Well, member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, these are shocking allegations that the Prime Minister appears to have fired his Attorney General for refusing to politically interfere in an ongoing criminal prosecution. Did her refusal to favour the Prime Minister's friends cost her her job? Canadians deserve clear answers to these serious allegations. Did the Prime Minister fire his Attorney General because she spoke truth to power?
Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said earlier today, no such direction was given to my predecessor. I can say, Mr. Speaker, that no such direction has been given to me to come to any particular conclusion in this matter. As Attorney General for Canada, Mr. Speaker, I am the Chief Legal Officer of the Crown. I provide legal services to the government with a responsibility to act in the public interest. I take these responsibilities very seriously.
The Honourable Member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, that was a carefully scripted response, but at the same time, pressure can come in many forms outside of merely direction. The evidence is mounting and the Prime Minister's responses are not adding up. Actions speak louder than words, and Canadians deserve the truth. The former Attorney General spoke truth to power, but maybe this Prime Minister can't handle the truth. Did the Prime Minister fire the former Attorney General for defending the independence of Canada's judiciary?
Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said, no direction was given to my predecessor in regards to this decision. I can say, Mr. Speaker, that no such direction has been given to me, nor has there been any pressure from the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister's office. Mr. Speaker, as the Attorney General for Canada, I will continue to give legal advice to this government as its Chief Legal Officer, based solely on the public interest.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. The Canadians want the truth. And they want the truth from those who are directly affected by this scandal revealed by the Globe and Mail. Now, the current Minister of Justice is not the one who is currently in question here. It's the one who lost her job. So can the former Attorney General of Canada rise and tell Canadians whether yes or no she was pressured by the PMO? The Honourable Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said earlier today, there was no pressure and there was no directive from him or from the Cabinet in this affair. As Attorney General of Canada, I am the primary legal counsel for the government. I take my responsibility very seriously. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. There's nothing personal in what I'm going to say, but with all due respect for the Minister of Justice, he is not the one who is currently under discussion here. It's the person that he replaced. He became Attorney General. Bravo. Good for him. But I want to know what happened to his predecessor and whether she was pressured by the PMO. Once again, Mr. Speaker, my question is for the person who is affected by this scandal, which affects all Canadians as well. Can the former Attorney General tell us, yes or no, whether the PMO intervened in this scandal? Yes or no? The Honourable Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, I thank my honourable colleague for his congratulations. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said earlier today, there was no pressure and there was no directive from him or from the Cabinet in this affair.
The Honourable Member for Courtenay Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, one of the most heart-wrenching and impactful experiences I've had as an MP was door-knocking in Parksville and meeting an elderly woman living on a fixed income. She told us that she had to choose between eating, paying rent, or buying medicine, telling us she has no choice but to live in pain. This shouldn't and doesn't have to happen in a country like ours. We need a universal pharmacare program for her, and so that nobody else has to make these choices. How can the Liberal government drag their feet while people are unnecessarily living in pain?
The Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to something as important as pharmacare, we certainly want to get it right, and we need a plan. That is why we've moved forward with the implementation of an advisory council on the implementation of a national pharmacare program. This advisory council, we've appointed a stellar group of experts in the field. They've had a national conversation with Canadians and also with experts in provinces and territories, and I look forward to receiving their report in spring of this year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Saskatoon West.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Transport finally heard the NDP's call. He acknowledged a 79% service gap in Saskatchewan's intercity public transportation and agrees with us that the situation is urgent and more important than partisan politics. But offering $10 million to the Sask Party government isn't a solution if they're not willing to share the cost to tackle the crisis. Why was this minister's funding conditional when the Sask Party has made it clear that offering reliable transit to people isn't their priority?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, we understand how important bus transportation is to remote, rural, and Indigenous communities. That's why the second we learned about Greyhound's decision to withdraw from Western Canada, the Minister began working with private partners and the provinces. We have come to the table with funding for the provinces, but if the premiers of Saskatchewan and Manitoba are not willing to sit down, then they're leaving their own residents out in the cold.
That's right. Honourable member for Carleton.
The Prime Minister fired his Attorney General for speaking truth to power. Now he's banning her from speaking at all. Now, there'd be no good reason for anyone in the PMO to be talking with anyone in the Attorney General's office about the criminal prosecution of SNC Lavalin. Right. Will the Prime Minister allow his former Attorney General to speak and answer, did anyone in his office speak to anyone in her office about that prosecution?
Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister has said earlier today, no such direction was given, no such pressure was made with respect to my predecessor, and certainly, Mr. Speaker, I can say from direct experience that I have received neither pressure nor direction from the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister's office.
Honourable member for Carleton.
The question wasn't about pressure or direction. The question was whether or not the subject of the criminal prosecution of SNC Lavalin came up in any conversations between staff members of PMO and the Attorney General's office. There'd be no good reason for such conversations to occur because prosecutions of that nature have nothing to do with the political office of the Prime Minister. So why can't the Minister just rise today and tell us yes or no? Was the matter ever discussed between PMO and the Attorney General's office?
Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said earlier today, the allegations contained in the Globe and Mail article are false.
Honourable member for Carleton, order.
He said no earlier today, so we know he's able to answer at least one yes or no question. And I want to answer this one. It's according to the lobbyist registry, SNC Lavalin met with the Prime Minister's office on 14 different occasions to discuss justice and law enforcement. This is a construction company, by the way. Now, Mr. Speaker, in any of those meetings, was the subject of the criminal prosecution of that company ever discussed? Yes or no?
Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as I think it's clear, I was not privy to those discussions. And as the Prime Minister has said earlier today, directions were not given either to my predecessor or myself with regards to any decision in this matter.
For Don Valley West.
Mr. Speaker, everyone deserves to live with dignity, to feel safe, and have their rights respected, regardless of their identity.
Our government is determined to defend the fundamental rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, two-spirit, and intersex people in Canada and around the world.
The Minister of International Development tell this House what tangible steps she is taking on this critical issue outside of Canada.
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, globally, LGBTQ communities continue to face discrimination and injustice because of who they are. To help address this discrimination, our government has announced a new initiative of $30 million over 5 years, followed by $10 million per year ongoing, to advance human rights and improve socio-economic outcomes for LGBTQ2 in developing countries.
Our government continues to take concrete steps to advance human rights, including LGBTQ2 rights in Canada and abroad.
The way this Prime Minister has treated the former Attorney General is criminal, perhaps literally. Is the Prime Minister proud of the fact that he has now joined the list of international leaders who have fired their Attorneys General for failing to follow their political orders?
Yeah. Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, at no point have I been pressured or directed by the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister's office to make any decision on this or any other matter. As the Attorney General for Canada, Mr. Speaker, I am the Chief Legal Officer of the Crown. I have the responsibility to give legal advice to the government based on the public interest. Mr. Speaker, I take this responsibility very seriously.
I do remind members should be judicious with their choice of words. Honorable
Member for Salaberry-sur-Roi. Mr. Speaker, Canada still has no policy for youth, and it seems to have been forgotten about. Consultations were started a year ago, and an 80-page report has been published, but since then we've heard nothing. There's no one in the Prime Minister's office who's specifically in charge of this file. The Privy Council Youth Secretariat, meanwhile, has had its budget cut by 33% in the last couple of years. It looks to me like we can sound the death knell of this issue. Will the Prime Minister and Minister for Youth break his promise to our young people, or will he make his Youth Council work for nothing? Mr. Speaker, of course there is someone responsible for youth, and that's the Prime Minister of Canada. We're very proud of the extraordinary work that our Youth Council has done. For 2 years, they've been working to set up the first youth policy for Canada, and we're going to have good news to share with my honourable colleague and this House in the weeks and months to come.
Honourable Member for St. John's East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Atlantic Canada's economic success depends on our ability to attract and retain skilled workers, and workers stay when their families put down roots. These new Canadians not only help good businesses grow and succeed, but also enrich the cultural fabric of our region. Can the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship update our House on the Atlantic Immigration Pilot and its progress in addressing labour shortages and growing the economy in our region?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, my Atlantic colleagues, and in fact the member from St. John's East, know well that to overcome our demographic challenges and grow our economy, immigration is essential. Immigration expands economic opportunities for all Atlantic Canadians. And since its launch, the Atlantic Immigration Pilot has matched 1,700 employers with over 1,800 newcomers and their families who are putting their skills to work to grow local businesses. While the Conservatives are busy sheer-mongering, our government is busy accepting newcomers who are growing Atlantic Canada.
I remind the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary that it's improper in the House to use personal names of MPs, and that was inappropriate. The Honourable Member for Durham.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister talks about the rule of law, but he doesn't walk the talk. No. His office pressured the Justice Minister to let a company off the hook. His ambassador to China interfered in an extradition. The Prime Minister himself charged Admiral Norman before the RCMP did. The political interference of the Prime Minister and his office knows no bounds. Admiral Norman deserves a fair trial, Mr. Speaker. Will the government commit today to releasing all the court-mandated documents, including those on phones and devices, immediately so he can have a fair trial?
Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member of the opposition for his question. The prosecution in question is being handled by the Public Prosecution Service of Canada. The Counsel for the Attorney General for Canada, Mr. Speaker, is fulfilling all of its obligations with respect to third-party records applications. It's improper for me to comment further on this issue as the matter is before the courts.
The Honourable Member for Joliette. Mr. Speaker, as you know, we're going to be paying $13.8 billion for Trans Mountain, an aging pipeline that no one wants. You probably also know that the $19 billion deficit is roughly equivalent to the money gifted to dirty oil. You might be wondering, like us, if the federal government shouldn't be working harder for Quebec and not so hard for the oil sands. When will the Minister of Finance start working for Quebecers and stop giving money to the oil sands? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleague mentioned the deficit. Indeed, we promised Canadians we would make key investments in infrastructure because the Stephen Harper Conservative government left us a massive deficit in investments in infrastructure and in science and in reducing inequalities in the country. So that's why, in Quebec, we've seen phenomenal growth over the last 3 years and a reduction of inequality. I think we should be proud of that. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Well, the Prime Minister likes to go all around the world painting himself as a champion in the fight against climate change. But the truth is very different. The truth is that this government, like the official opposition, is in the pocket of big polluters like the oil sands. So here's my question. Does the Minister of the Environment think that investing $19 billion of public money in dirty oil is a good way to fight climate change?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable member for her question. I'd like to point out that our government is taking the threat posed by climate change extraordinarily seriously because we know it is the fight of our times. In particular, Mr. Speaker, we have made the largest investment in public transit in the history of our country. By 2030, 90% of our electricity is going to be generated by renewable resources. In fact, we're putting 50 commitments and more forward to combat climate change and putting the price on pollution that's going to bring emissions down and put more money in the pockets of middle-class families. Mr. Speaker, it's disappointing that the opposition can't be as honest as the member from Beauce and admit that their plan is to do nothing.
The Honourable Member for La Pointe-de-L'Île. Mr. Speaker, my question is for the chair of the House Committee for Justice and Human Rights. The government of Quebec has just tabled a bill requiring permanent residents in Quebec to learn the French language and Quebec values. Can the chair of the committee assure us that the committee will not do anything to oppose this bill from Quebec? I ask because we know that, in his opinion, requiring people to speak French is shameful.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, we know that immigration plays a key role in the economies of Quebec and Canada. It has an effect on communities all across Canada, and the governments of Quebec and Canada have been working together for decades under the Canada-Quebec Agreement. We continue to pursue that important work. It's too early to comment on the content of the bill, but we will study it with great interest, and we will work with the government of Quebec on this issue. The Honourable Member for La Pointe-de-L'Île has a point of order. Yes, I have a point of order. Now, I asked the question to the chair of the committee, so I'm not sure why he didn't respond. The chair didn't rise immediately, and I saw that someone else had risen to answer the question, and then I saw that the chair had returned to his seat, but unfortunately it was too late.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Immigration is rising on a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to retract my use of the word that implicated the leader of the Conservative Party earlier and insert instead fear-mongering, because that's exactly what he's doing.
Order. I would ask the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to rise and apologize.